I moved to Austin in the summer of 1980 during a record heat wave with no job, no car, and no money. I was 22, I had a sense of adventure, and I was absolutely sure that everything was going to turn out just fine. I was sure because I had read these words on a poster once. If you jump, the universe will catch you. I did have a place to live lined up. I assumed it would have furniture and air conditioning. When I got here, it turned out I was wrong about the furniture and the air conditioning. My first night in Austin, it was a miserable 101 degrees. So I opened the window of my bedroom with no bed in it, hoping for a breeze, and in crawled the first cockroach I had ever seen. It was as big as a hot dog bun. Apparently, the universe had not gotten the memo that I was about to jump, and it was supposed to catch me. Just a few days later, I got a job, and that's where I met Gary. He was an older man. He was 28. He had looks, he had charm, and that was just the beginning. When he found out I didn't have any furniture, he made a few calls, he borrowed a pickup truck, and he rounded up a bed, a table, and a dresser for me. We ate lunch together every day. I had never met a man who was so easy to talk to. In my fantasies, I planned our wedding and named our children. Perhaps the universe was going to catch me after all. On the 4th of July, Gary invited me to a picnic with his friends. The Gay Pride picnic sign at the entrance to City Park did not give me a clue. Meeting half a dozen of his gay friends who looked exactly like him did not give me a clue. When did I get a clue? Oh yeah, when he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Amy, I'm gay." I gave Gary a big smile, and I kept on smiling, while inside I was screaming, "No! No! No!" It was so humiliating. How could I have been so stupid? How could I have believed that this perfect guy was just miraculously somehow still single, and he'd been waiting for me all his life? Waiting for me all his life. It was so humiliating. I assumed that he had done all those wonderful things for me because...
So sorry.
Maybe I could just talk really loud.
You should talk.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Well, yeah.
There you go.
I assumed he had done all those. Can you hear me back?
He's gay.
All right. Okay. I assumed he had done all those wonderful things for me because he was falling for me. But I was wrong. He had done all those wonderful things for me because he was a caring, generous, amazing human being. That bastard! When I woke up that morning, I had imagined that after the 4th of July fireworks, Gary and I would be snuggled up in a blanket together under the stars. I could not have imagined that after the fireworks, we would be dancing under a disco ball with all his friends at the Texas Colorado, which was the hottest gay club in Austin back in 1980. And I met lookalikes for all 5 of the village people. In the weeks that followed, I went with Gary and his friends to bars and brunches and parties. I was always surrounded by upbeat, stunningly handsome men, and I always had something fabulous to do. I could not complain. One Saturday morning, Gary called me and he said, I need a favor. I went to Houston last night, I brought somebody home with me, and I forgot I had to work this morning. Could you entertain him? Oh, this won't be awkward at all. I said, sure, send him over. Gary said, oh, there's one more thing. He doesn't speak English. The guy who showed up on my front lawn 10 minutes later was drop dead gorgeous. He had this whole exotic, other side of the world, olive skin, jet black hair, flashing white teeth thing going on, and he was as fit as a wild animal. I couldn't breathe. Then I remembered he was gay, and I started breathing again. I am Amy. My house is hot. Let's walk. I am Abraham. I am speaking some English. And I'm not deaf. We headed for the hike and bike trail. For the next 2 hours, we walked and talked about his favorite food and the music he liked and movies and cars and dogs. And I looked directly into his deep, dark brown eyes the entire time to help with the language barrier. Abraham's English was not the best, but he was a great conversationalist. He had stories, he had opinions. I had a lot of respect for him. And he was a really good sport about everything. At one point, he tried to tell a joke, and all of the humor was lost in translation. And we had a good laugh over how funny it wasn't. At another point, he asked me, how pound are you? And I said, I weigh 105 pounds, which was a lie. And he said, I think I pound you more. Finally, we sat down in the shade. Abraham said, we should not be getting along. I said, why not? He said, I am from Iran. You are a Jew. Oh. I just met you today. And I like everything about you. A lot. And then, in the dearest, sweetest gesture of friendship, he slipped his hand into mine, as if to say, I appreciate everything you've done. He was still holding my hand when the fingers of his other hand touched my wrist, continued up my arm, past the crook of my elbow, up to my neck, and into my hair. And that's when I realized that Abraham wasn't gay. Thank you, universe. Thank you. It turned out that 10 years earlier, back in 1970, back when Gary and Abraham were both in high school, Gary went to Iran as an exchange student, and he lived with Abraham and his family. Gary and Abraham got to be like brothers. Then years later, when things got bad in Iran, Abraham wrote to Gary and said, "I wish to come to the United States. Would you be willing to sponsor me?" And of course, Gary said, of course. I learned so much the summer I was 22. Like that saying, 2 wrongs don't make a right. It isn't always true. I thought Gary was straight and I was wrong. I thought Abraham was gay and I was wrong. And that turned out all right. Not done. And that poster, the words were true. But whoever wrote them left out some really important details. The poster should have read, "It may not happen when you think it will or how you think it will, but if you jump, the universe will catch you."